Psalm 18 is a good reminder that our Lord's love is very powerful. If you read through verses, like starting at verse 7, it talks about how God responds to our cries for help. It says, the earth trembled and quaked, and the foundations of the mountains shook. They trembled because God was angry that his people were being threatened. Smoke rose from his nostrils. Consuming fire came from his mouth. Burning coals blazed out of it. This is a God you don't want to mess with and a God that you want on your side. So having God's strength on our side is a good thing. God's love for us is powerful. There's also a subtle reminder in this psalm that God's love is an initiating love. You know what that means? If you jump down a few verses, verse 16, it says, he reached down from on high and took hold of me. He drew me out of the deep waters. Who does that make you think of? Probably Peter, right? As Jesus was walking on the water towards his disciples, Peter was bold enough to ask, can I do that too? And Jesus said, yeah, of course. And so Peter gets out of the water, or gets out of the boat, and he starts stepping on top of the water, and he starts walking towards Jesus, and he's doing it. He's walking on top of the water on his way to Jesus. But then it says, the wind and the waves, they got his attention. They had his attention more than Jesus had his attention, and so that's when he started to fall, and that's when he cried out, Lord, save me, and that's when Jesus reached out his hand and saved him. So another example of Jesus in response to our cries. He's there. He reaches out, but I want you to think back even earlier than that. Think about when Jesus, as a little baby, for the very first time, reached his hand out towards his mother. Whose cry for help was he responding to? It's just one of many times he was responding to yours long before you cried out for him. When Jesus defined service for his disciples, when James and John were arguing about who was the greatest, and Jesus said, disciples of mine, they don't operate that way. He said, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. And the first part of that phrase is so important, that the Son of Man, Jesus, came. He came. Long before we ever knew he needed to. Long before we ever knew that we would need to ask him to or beg him to. But the fact that he came before we knew that he would need to means something. It means that whenever you cry out to him, whether you're crying out to him in a time of trouble, in a time of deep guilt, in a time of pain, time of worry or anxiety, or anything else, when you're crying out to him to come and help you, the truth is, he's already there because he already came. He initiates the help in our lives, knowing that we are going to need it, knowing that we will need him to already be there when we realize our need for him. And the wonderful truth about our God and his love for us is that that's always the truth. He's always already there, ready to use all of his strength and all of his love and all of his wisdom and all of his compassion and all of his control over all things to help and to help you. He's already there. Rest well tonight, my friends.